Oh, hey there. I'm so glad you could join us as we do this very special review, 50 Shades Freed. I'm so glad you're in my private space here in my bed as we take a look at this super sexy movie, which isn't that sexy, but this review is definitely more sexy than that movie. Ooh. So obviously I'm not going to do the entire review on my bed because that's just not fine. I feel like I'm going to get super distracted and I'll want to sleep every single time I'm trying to say something in terms of constructive criticism regarding this movie. Which is something funny because constructive criticism regarding 50 Shades Freed when the movie itself is not a constructed piece of film. Anyway, let's rip into this piece of shit. So 50 Shades Darker ended with the fact that Anna and Christian are now engaged. They're gonna get married. They've done this within a 6-week period. They're gonna get married and it's, I think, 4 months in total, all 3 books, which is just nonsense, honestly. Come on, you cannot tell me that all of these things, including what is in 50 Shades Freed, happens within 4 months. That's the most rushed relationship ever, and I don't give a damn about it. I have seen relationships that have lasted 4 months before, some of my friends, and over there I can be like, yeah, okay, you guys have been in a relationship for 4 months. That's a normal relationship. All of this does not happen within 4 months, but we'll talk about that when we get to that. So they get married in this movie, and we're supposed to be really happy about that, and they're seriously really happy about it. They're having this great honeymoon, they're having a great time partying around on expensive planes and fancy boats, and he's giving her everything that she wants in the world, and they're having a ton of sex because that's what these movies are made for, to have a lot of nice hardcore or softcore sex scenes, if you will, because none of this film is hardcore in the least. This is a very softcore film, just like the other 2 films. So they're having a lot more sex in this one. This is like half the film is just sex scenes. And so all of this happy stuff is going on, but in the middle of all this, we have that creepy boss guy from the last movie, who's trying to get his revenge on Christian Grey because of something that happened in the past, kind of like a "I'll get you next time, get it" situation. And so we now have this movie, and we have I'm actually kind of curious as to what exactly this movie is about. 50 Shades Freed is just a bunch of shots. It's like they brought the cast and crew, put them together, and they made a bunch of scenes, random scenes that make no sense, put it together, put some shitty music over it, to make it more pop culturally relevant, and they brought a bunch of artists together to make this big soundtrack that'll probably debut in the top 10 of Billboard this week. And then they suddenly decided, hey, that's a movie. We're going to make this as the movie. 50 Shades Freed is one of the few movies I have ever seen in my entire life that never starts. There's no start. Forget an ending. The movie just stops. There's nothing to it. There's actually no sequence of events here. The movie tries to put in a few plots here and there to be like, hey, this is what's going on, but those things fizzle out within minutes. So they actually have no consequence on things that happen in terms of the overarching story. But what is this movie really trying to do? This movie is trying to make you root for Anastasia Steele and Christian Grey. Dakota Johnson and Jamie Dornan once again are playing, and again, they're trying their darndest best to make sure something comes out of this. But the thing is, you've written such a terrible series of books already. How do you think the movies are going to turn out? Do you think they're going to be as good? Do you think they're going to be even worse? Probably even worse, or just as bad, because I haven't read the books, but I've read excerpts from them and they're pretty terrible. It's like a Twilight fan fiction. And that's exactly how this movie in particular feels. It really feels like it was just made up on the spot. Things just happen. Things are just said. Things are just done. It's just there. They're just there. And I hate that about this movie. And it really results in some of the most terrible writing I've heard in any film or was ever been put to film. This is a terrible script. And the thing is, again, They want you to care about that relationship, but you don't care about the relationship because in the last two movies, there has been nothing that has remotely hinted at the fact that these two have any semblance of chemistry. There is no fucking connection between the two. This is a toxic relationship. So there is no reason why this girl should be with this guy. In any normal situation, this girl, this kind of a girl, who seems like a really sweet person, honestly, would have walked like 50 feet away from this guy, maybe even 500 feet, moved to a different city for all I know, and completely avoided speaking to this guy for the rest of her life. That's what would normally happen, because this guy is a controlling son of a bitch. But for some reason, this movie is like, no, it's romantic. They're getting together. See what he's doing for her? What is he doing for her, really? Like, he's treating her like shit even now. He's still being the dominating, whatever fucking guy that he is, and she's just like, yes sir, okay. She never really gets a moment to do anything on her own. There is one scene in this movie where she kind of takes control of certain things, and it's like, okay, like I guess so, but even that is just completely thrown down the drain, because it's like, nope, we gotta go back to that other thing. You don't care. Even this film is edited weirdly. Like, just like the last movie, this film has random cuts. It just stops. Scenes just stop. Shots just stop. It's just like, okay, I guess something's going. Oh, okay, I guess we're done. All right, moving on, bye. And that's this entire film. That's this entire movie. It's just a bunch of abrupt cuts with a bunch of songs put in the middle, and it just stops in the end. There's a montage sequence of all things, which is highlighting the great romantic moments of the last two movies between these two characters. These, oh my god. What romantic moments? These guys were the dullest fucking couple I've ever seen in a fucking movie in my entire fucking life. Bella and Edward in the Twilight movies had more chemistry than these two idiots. I swear, this is a really bad movie. It was horribly written. It was acted. I swear, I feel sorry for Dakota Johnson, and I feel sorry for Jamie Dornan, because they're trying. They are trying at points. Sometimes they just give up, but there are points where you're like, they really want to make this work, and it's just not working. I'm so glad the series is over, because now they can move on to better roles, better scripts, better directors, because there are so many others out there. I've seen them in other stuff before, and they're very talented. I can't wait to see them in that stuff. I'm done with this series, as should everybody else. Look, if you're a fan of 50 Shades, if you're gonna go see this movie with a bunch of your friends and have a good time watching it and, laugh at all and marvel at all the scenes, that's great. But there are so many plot holes and plot threads that are just unresolved or just completely abandoned in this movie that you just can't make a movie out of it. They're just shots. There's an entire subplot in this movie, by the way, about Christian Grey's brother, which has absolutely no significance except for the fact that they want you to care about the fact that he's making some big decision. You don't give a shit about the decision because it comes out of nowhere. And the same thing happens regarding certain other characters. Remember how Kim Basinger's character in 50 Shades Darker was set up as that woman who basically introduced Christian to this life of dominance, and the fact is that she's this horrible woman who Christian should stay away from? She's not in the movie. She's not in the movie. She's supposed to be in the movie. She's actually built up in this movie. She's not there. Look, like I said, this is the final one. This is the final nail in the coffin. These movies have been awful. They're terrible movies. They're just terrible. They're almost disservices to film. A friend of mine was telling me last night that we saw this movie, a very old movie called Man with the Movie Camera. And it's this very early 1900s short film, which was about a man going around and just, taking pictures of random things that were going on and making a film out of it. It really had no story to it. It was just a guy going around. That had more of a story than this entire movie. This movie is ridiculous. This has a way of trying to show you, it's a happy ending, but it really doesn't matter. You're bored out of your mind watching this. 1 hour and 47 minutes or whatever feel like 3 hours. This is a terrible movie. I'm gonna give 50 Shades Freed a fucking F. Guys, thank you so much as always for watching. As you can tell, I'm not as angry in this review as I was with 50 Shades Darker. That was a much more abusive review. I'm just kind of relieved at this point. That's why I'm a little more restrained today. As always, if you like this, please do subscribe. If you want to go see this movie, go see it, man. I don't care. But if you have any semblance of mind, there are better things out there. You can just, I don't know, I'm actually going to say it. Just watch porn. Just watch porn instead of this. Porn's better than this. As always, I'll see you guys at the movies.